Welcome to Rico and Hook, the #1 weekly sports talk show on Way News TV.
The MLB season is 2 months away, and the Giants are in the divisional round. The Jets haven't won a game since Week 12. Later, we'll be joined by a special guest to talk about the world of sports and sports predictions. I'm Rico.
Jets are going to do well next year, and I'm Hook, and this is Rico and Hook. So to start off, the MLB season is right around the corner. First of all, Bleacher Report just posted their way too early 2023 trade deadline predictions. Pretty big kind of shocker to me when I was going through it. They had Shohei Ohtani getting traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Angels crosstown rival. I mean, how do you feel Shohei Ohtani goes to the Los Angeles Dodgers, just making them a powerhouse? How would you feel?
I just can't see it happen, and then I couldn't imagine what they have to give up to get Shohei Ohtani on their team. I mean, it's got to be some of their top farm system players, and I'm sure a couple current proven players now. I just think it's way too much for the Dodgers to give up, and they already have a good team in general. I don't see a reason for the Dodgers to go after Shohei Ohtani.
I mean, yeah, just the Angels gave Shohei Ohtani the biggest arbitration-avoiding deal this past offseason with $30 million. I mean, it's going to take them a lot. Dodgers have prospects like Bobby Miller, Andy Pages, but overall, I just don't see them having the prospects, like you said, to acquire a player like Shohei Ohtani. So I 100% agree. And now moving into our favorite team, the New York Yankees, they have a few options going into this upcoming season at the shortstop position. It was a major weak point last year, but they've got some guys in the farm, notably Oswald Peraza and Anthony Volpe. Now they've got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who had a down year last year. Seems like every season of his is a down year, but who do you have the most hope for being the starting shortstop on opening day? Do you have IKF, Peraza, or Volpe?
My hope is for Volpe. Obviously, I think he's been ready now for almost a year. He was really close to coming up at some points, and then Peraza eventually proved himself as a shortstop, but I don't think IKF should touch the field at all at shortstop this year. I just think his defense is too weak for being a defensive shortstop. It's not like he can hit on the other side of the ball, so I do want Volpe at some point this year to get some playing time, and then hopefully the following year he is the starting shortstop after that.
I mean, yeah, IKF came to the Yankees, a former Gold Glove Award winner, but he won it at the third base position, so he's not a natural shortstop. I think we thought that by moving him to shortstop, the position he played last season before Corey Seager came to the Rangers, was going to be the move that kind of gets him to be, the next best defensive player for the New York Yankees, but we just did not see that last year. And I totally agree. I think Anthony Volpe has been waiting for his turn, but right now I just don't see him being ready to start opening day. So if I had to make my choice, I'm going with Oswald Peraza all the way for the shortstop on opening day.
Yeah, and then continue with the Yankees. Frankie Montas out for the first month of the season. So who's going to be the fifth starter for the Yankees?
Well, there's been a lot of, kind of middle rotation guys. Domingo Germán, who started a few games for us last year. He started off the season injured, similar to what Montas is dealing with right now, a shoulder injury. But I think Domingo Germán has proven himself. I know a lot of Yankee fans aren't big on him, but I think if you were to go with one guy, I think Domingo Germán would be probably the most safe choice to go with as your first start in the rotation. What do you think?
I mean, definitely for the first month, you can always roll with the opener. Having some guy go 3 to 4 innings, for example, like Michael King. I don't know if he's coming back from injury anytime soon. Hopefully he does. Obviously he was really good in the playoffs last year, but I think they can most likely stick with the opener for the fifth starter for at least the first month.
So, moving into kind of the prospect side of things, we talked about some prospects for the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, the international prospect pool just opened up about a week ago, and Ethan Salas, the #1 international prospect, signed with the San Diego Padres for $6.5 million. He was born in Florida but played baseball professionally in Mexico. He's 16 years old. We've seen a rise in these young international players recently in Major League Baseball. How do you feel? Do you feel like these international players are becoming kind of the face of baseball recently?
I think it's a good thing for the sport, one, and then, I do think that they're going to start taking over the sport of baseball. Obviously, you still have your top guys like Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, who were American players, but obviously it's ran by mainly like Hispanic heritage, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, all these other countries that are bringing in these players, and it seems like they were becoming some of the better players in the league. So I do think it's a good thing that internationally, especially in even in other leagues like the NFL, they do open up that stuff. So I think it's good for other players to come from other countries and play a sport here.
I mean, yeah, we talked about Shohei Ohtani earlier. Players like Vlad Guerrero Jr., Juan Soto have really stepped up and become kind of the faces of their teams, their franchises. So I totally agree. I think, the way MLB is moving right now is towards international players kind of being the face of the league. And just a few months away from the start of the MLB season, the MLB offseason is kind of wrapping up now. So if you were to make your pick, obviously trades can still happen, but who would you say is the biggest winner of this last MLB offseason?
I would say the biggest winner, I want to say either the Mets, obviously revamped their bullpen. It's unfortunate to say, but I do think that they're going to be a lot better this year. Second year with all of their starters back. Hopefully they do come back healthy. And I think just the new revamped rotation, having their bullpen back healthy is going to be a good thing for them.
I agree. I think the Mets probably are up there, but I think you shouldn't really be sleeping on the Texas Rangers. I mean, they've made a lot of trades to, get some more depth in the outfield and the infield as well. They've added, obviously, to the rotation with the signing of Jacob deGrom and a couple of different bullpen pieces as well that I think the Rangers are looking so much better than they were last year. Obviously, they had two huge signings with Corey Seager and Marcus Semien last year, and everybody thought, this is going to propel them to a playoff team. They weren't great last year, but now with Jacob deGrom and a few more pieces in that rotation, Nate Eovaldi, who I forgot to mention before, also a great pitcher who signed with the Rangers. I think those additions to the rotation are really going to propel them to hopefully a playoff spot because, recently the Rangers have just been suffering for the last few years. And, just going off of who you think the biggest winner of the offseason is, who would you say is the biggest loser of this past MLB offseason?
I think my top team is the Padres. I think they pretty much made no improvements after the Juan Soto trade. Obviously didn't make it far in the playoffs. Fernando Tatis is struggling with the off-the-field issues. Manny Machado's getting old, and I think their bullpen is a lot worse than it actually seems on paper. So I do think that they're the biggest losers of the offseason. Didn't make enough prudence to compete in their division, especially with the Dodgers.
That's actually an interesting opinion there. They did sign Xander Bogaerts at shortstop, but, again, another shortstop on their roster, a huge 12-year contract for Bogaerts. He's going to be playing for that team until he's 41 years old. I believe he has a trade clause for the first 6 years. So, again, just an interesting deal. And if I were to pick who I think the biggest loser was of this last offseason, it's got to be the Red Sox. As you saw, as I just said, they lost Xander Bogaerts. They've lost a few other key pieces like Nate Eovaldi, and they really haven't made a lot of great additions to the roster either outside of re-signing Rafael Devers. So if I were to pick one team, I'd probably go with the Red Sox for being the biggest losers. So that'll do it for our segment on Major League Baseball. Don't go anywhere. The divisional round of the NFL starts this Saturday with a quartet of exciting games. This and more on the NFL when we come back.
Welcome back. Next up, we're going to talk about the NFL's big wild card round this weekend. A lot happened. So first off, Brett Maher, probably one of the worst kicking performances I've ever seen. Obviously, the most missed extra points in the playoffs. Do you think they should just gone for two?
Definitely. Maher was awful in that last game. 1 for 5, as you said. Most missed kick attempts in a single game in playoff history. It was just a terrible performance from him all around, but I thought the Cowboys did a great job. We saw a lot from them throughout the season, and Dak Prescott just overperformed with 4 touchdowns for his team. He just did an amazing job. So, obviously, with Maher doing not so well, 1 for 5 on extra points, I thought Dak Prescott really carried his team to this win over Tom Brady's Bucs.
Yeah, and then continue, Brock Purdy's been talked about a lot compared to Tom Brady. Another big win over the Seahawks in the wild card game. How do you see Brock Purdy being compared to Tom Brady?
Other than Tom Brady being picked in the 6th round, being the backup his first season, and obviously Brock Purdy being the greatest quarterback of all time with that last game. Right. Came in Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft. He had Jimmy Garoppolo, his starting quarterback, get injured. Then Trey Lance got injured. So, with Brock Purdy stepping up, being the last pick in the draft, I thought, I was so amazed with how well he's been doing the last few weeks of the season. And obviously with the wild card round, he's did a great job. A 41-23 win over the Seahawks. I know your boy Geno Smith, unfortunately, is knocked out. I know he won you the fantasy football. But unfortunately, Geno Smith out. Brock Purdy, he's on the rise right now despite being the last pick in the draft. So I'm big on him.
Yeah, I'm happy you stopped talking because next up, my Giants moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles, beat the Minnesota Vikings 31-24. Personally, I think it was Daniel Jones' best game of his career. Not close. Maybe besides his debut versus the Bucs when everyone thought he was going to be a great quarterback after that. But I think the best game so far by Daniel Jones' career, and Saquon Barkley obviously is just playing like himself. So what do you think about next week's game against the Eagles?
I mean, just a big game. I just want to go off a big game, a big win for the Giants over the Vikings. Daniel Jones, I'm a Duke fan, basketball and football. I wasn't big on him going into the draft. He lost us a few very important games during his few seasons with Duke as the starting quarterback. But, I mean, this last season, I mean, he's been looking like a true starting quarterback for this team. He's been doing a great job overall. And a Giants team I didn't think was going to do much this season, obviously with a big win over the Vikings. And like you said, they're playing against the Eagles. They're divisional rivals. So, I mean, it's going to be a close game. I think the Giants have a lot of momentum going into this game. I think the Eagles, obviously, having the best record in the league, we're a great team. But, I mean, if it's going to be close, I think the Giants have a chance. But right now, unfortunately, I'm sorry. I think I'm going with the Eagles in this next divisional round game.
Yeah, personally, I disagree. I mean, I think Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley are the best running back combo. Jalen Hurts, obviously, number 2, second best rusher in the league. And then we'll move on to the third best rusher in the league at quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he was out, so Tyler Huntley was in, fumbled on the 2-yard line. Sam Hubbard returned it 98 yards for a touchdown and pretty much won that game for the Bengals.
So the first defensive touchdown for a game winner in playoff history since, I believe, the 1970s. So, I mean, amazing job from the Bengals getting that huge close win, just squeezed it out, just got that, as you said, Sam Hubbard, 98-yard fumble recovery. That's not easy to do. That's something, obviously, we haven't seen in about 40 years in the playoffs. So, I mean, that was just an amazing game, close all throughout, and then at the end, I mean, just such an exciting way to close it out.
And then stay with the Bengals. Bills-Bengals next week. I think it's going to be the game of the week, to be honest. It's going to be a high-scoring matchup. Going to be back and forth between two high-powered offenses. Who do you think is coming out on top in that one?
I mean, what a way to, kind of close it out. The two teams playing against each other, obviously, with everything that happened with DeMar Hamlin. The two teams that played in that game together are playing against each other now in the divisional round. I think there's going to be a lot of emotion in this upcoming game, obviously. But I think Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen's going to, be kind of the headline as the quarterback battle. Joe Burrow, I thought, despite getting a few haters this past season, was a pretty good quarterback, as we saw him last year making it all the way to Super Bowl. And now I thought he wasn't as good as he was last year, but I still think he had a very successful season. And Josh Allen is my personal pick for the MVP this year. So I think, he's going to propel his team to hopefully the victory for the Bills, because I have the Bills going all the way to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, and I have my Giants going all the way to the Super Bowl.
I don't know
gonna
about
mark
that.
my words
I
on
don't
that.
know about
and
that.
we'll clip it when the Giants get eliminated after this next week. But personally, I do think we'll win. And when we do win, I will insert the clip of you saying the Eagles are going to win. So that'll be all for our NFL segment. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Hook and I will go over news from multitude of sports across the world. This and more when we come back.
Welcome back. A lot's happening in the world of sports, and Rico and I have some news for you. So for starters, LeBron James, 48 points against the Rockets. He passes 38,000 points, still in second place behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And a bit of an interesting story that, I'm going to let you get into LeBron in a second, but a bit of an interesting story. He played against the Rockets with Jabari Smith Jr. on the team. Jabari Smith Sr., his father, played against LeBron James in LeBron's NBA debut. So, just a very interesting story to hear. First time he's played against a father-son duo. I believe the first time in NBA history that a player has played against a father-son duo. So just really big moment. And how do you feel about LeBron James, going this long? He's 38 years old. How do you feel about how well he's been playing?
Yeah, the nickname's looking to play with his son, Bronny, eventually. But I think it's cool that we still have a player in the NBA that's lasted this long. Like we have Tom Brady in the NFL. I don't think we really have someone like that in like another sport like baseball. But I think it's good for LeBron James to still be playing now, and he does. How many more years till Bronny can play?
So Bronny's likely going to come out in the 2024 draft, and LeBron did say he wants to play with his son on the same team for his final NBA season. So I think, LeBron's probably lying about that. This is LeCap after all. So, I think Bronny and LeBron are going to, play a few seasons together rather than 1 year. I think he's trying to be like Tom Brady, not retire at 40. I think he's going to more likely retire around 42, 43 because it's LeBron and he's really showing no signs of slowing down at 38 years old.
Yeah, we can definitely see LeBron playing until he's 48 along with Tom Brady. But just to continue with your losing teams, the Knicks lost in a heartbreaker against the Raptors and scored 123 to 121. Obviously, you definitely watched that game. in its entirety. So what happened there?
I mean, you didn't have to diss the Knicks like that. I mean, we had a good 7-game winning streak until it was ruined by the Milwaukee Bucks, and now this just a heartbreaking loss. A huge play at the end of regulation. At the end of the fourth quarter, R.J. Barrett with a posterizing dunk to sending into overtime. 0.6 seconds left on the clock. Huge hype moment for everybody at Madison Square Garden. Fortunately, I was obviously on my couch watching it with my parents. And with overtime, I mean, they lost it there. I mean, Raptors just played so much better than the Knicks in overtime. And Jalen Brunson, at the end of the game, had the ball in his hands with 3 seconds left, took the three to get the win in overtime for the game winner. Unfortunately, just couldn't knock it down. And once again, it's just a Knicks type of game. I mean, you're going to have your 8-game win streaks, and then you're going to have games where you outplayed the team in regulation, they come back, force an overtime, and then they outplay you in overtime, and you lose on a game-winning 3 because that's the New York Knicks, and that's how they play. But moving into a team that's been playing better than the Knicks this season, but once again, another losing team, my Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah,
it's been a tough season.
Just to interrupt you, it seems like every single team that you like does lose a lot.
Well, the Jets, the Blue Devils, the Knicks, not the Yankees, fortunately, but, I mean, yeah, you're 100. It's tough being a sports fan, being a Hook family sports fan, but Duke lost 72-64 against the Clemson Tigers in inter-ACC game. I thought the team played pretty well. I mean, Tyrese Proctor put up 17 points. He's been showing signs of improving with Jeremy Roach gone. And Kyle Filipowski put up 18 points and 14 rebounds. He's the best freshman in all of college basketball right now. So, I mean, we've seen in past years younger players kind of running college basketball. How do you feel about these freshmen and sophomores kind of stepping up and being the main guys on their teams in college basketball?
Yeah, I think it's really good, and I feel like we've seen a lot of freshmen and sophomores come out of college early. Like, for example, I always think of Zion Williamson coming out early in his collegiate career just to go straight to the NBA. Obviously, he struggled early on, but I do think it's a good thing, and I do think that it always is better to stay in college and then wait for the draft. But the longer you play in college, the better you'll be in the NBA. So I think the longer that they stay in college and the more of these younger guys that they do have, it just brings more attention to the game in general.
Yeah, and then moving into soccer now, we had Cristiano Ronaldo sign with Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia for over $200 million a year for 2 years. And now apparently a few rivals of Al Nassr, namely Al Hilal, one of the teams in Saudi Arabia, is supposedly likely to offer in the upcoming days Lionel Messi, Ronaldo's rival, up to $350 million a year for a likely 2 to 3 year deal. I mean, we see in baseball players get $350 million for their entire contract, and even that's rare. How do you feel about players like Lionel Messi potentially getting $350 million a year?
I'm just wondering where they're getting all this money from, first of all, just to pay one singular player on your team that much money. And it's not over a long period of time like in baseball. I mean, you get a 12-year, 14-year contract. I mean, what are these 2 to 3 year contracts, maybe 4 tops? And, again, Lionel Messi is, 36 years old now? Even a guy like Ronaldo, 37 years old. They're late in their careers. They're not even in – again, they're still in their primes, towards the end of their primes, but I'm still surprised that teams are giving out this much money for older players.
I mean, a lot of the owners in Saudi Arabia are actually based in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, one of the richest cities in the world. So, I mean, they're all billionaires. They own these multi-billion-dollar soccer clubs, but still $350 million, like you said, is a huge investment, especially per year, which is insane to think about how MLB owners are afraid to give $350 million for, say, 12 years. These guys are throwing it out like it's dimes. So, I mean,
like Danny Dimes.
You didn't have to bring up Danny Dimes. That was well past. But
right.
Now, moving in, it's been a long time coming, unfortunately. I'm shaking a little bit because it's a sad day. Unfortunately, here on Rico and Hook, we're going to have to talk about hockey, unfortunately. Walker Durr became the first South Dakota-born player in NHL history to score a goal. And that's all for hockey. Now, that'll do it for our sports news segment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be joined by a special guest to wrap up the show when we come back. So now to close off the show, we have a brand new segment that we'd like to introduce. We call it Ask the Analyst, and we are pleased to be joined by, on this episode, our resident analyst and social media representative, Marisa Toulas. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
And the first question for both you and Talerico over here is, what team do you have high hopes for going into next year's college football season?
I'm going University of Michigan. I think they've always been solid the last couple of years. They've been playing really well. I think this next year is this year. You know, they're a little mad. They didn't win, but I don't know. But I'm hoping for Michigan. What about you, Jake?
I got their rivals, Ohio State. I do think that even losing C.J. Stroud to the draft, I think they got a couple young pieces coming up, and I think Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously coming out next year, is going to be the guy, and I think they're going to be good.
It's a good pick.
And now with going into professional football, you got the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. You got Jags, Chiefs, you got Giants, Eagles, you got Bengals, Bills, and then you have the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. So of those 4 matchups, what matchup are you most anticipating for this week?
I'm excited for the Giants-Eagles, and I'm nowhere near a Giants fan, but I think it'll be a good game. I think the Giants are going to give the Eagles a run for their money, and I definitely wouldn't count out the Giants. But I'm also excited to see Jacksonville and, Trevor get out there and show him what he's got against Mahomes, because I think that they're kind of equivalent. They just don't have the same team.
Yeah, personally a Giants fan, obviously I'm looking forward to that game, but I think Cincy-Buffalo is going to be a high-scoring game. I can see that going either 40 points for each team. It's going to come down to the wire no matter what. So, yeah, that's definitely my pick for the game I want to watch.
Yeah, I'm personally also looking forward to seeing the Giants lose. And now,
All right.
keeping with the NFL playoffs, Tom Brady was eliminated in the first round to the Dallas Cowboys, a 31-14 loss. So, Marisa, if you were to, make your decision, Tom Brady, do you think he's retiring? If not, do you think he's signing with a new team or staying with the Bucs after this season?
He's not retiring. He's going out with a bang. He's either going to go to the Raiders, or if the 49ers don't go all the way this year and win it, they're going to want Brady. And then I think Gronk's going to follow him and come out of retirement. But Brady's not done. We know that.
Brady will be going to the New York Jets. That's
my
prediction.
My boy.
No.
Right now, my prediction. Yeah, he's going to the New York Jets. So you'll have a quarterback next year for 1 year when he hits 50. So.
Well, you know what? I think Tom Brady is, like you said, bringing Gronk with him, and I think bringing him to the Jets, we're in a Super Bowl for the first time since 1965.
Go watch.
And now moving in from football over to Major League Baseball, kind of your guys' expertise here. Marisa, a lot of players had breakout seasons this last season. If you were to make your choice before the season starts in a few months, who do you think is having a breakout season in the MLB?
I think if Taylor Walls is still playing for the Tampa Bay Rays, he will have an amazing season. He's one of the best shortstops out there. I think his defensive stats were, number 1 or number 2. He just got to put the bat on the ball more, start hitting the ball. I think he hit 170, but I think he's going to work hard in the offseason, and he's going to be amazing players, and I think the Rays are a good team and organization for him, and I could see him with at least 20 home runs, doing his job, but that all depends.
For me, I think Adley Rutschman is going to be the best catcher in the MLB next year, and along with hitting over 30 home runs, so that's my breakout player prediction.
Overall, great choices. 2 American League East teams, I noticed. Unfortunately, no Yankees players. A little interesting from 2 Yankee fans, but
yeah, I don't think we're going to do good this year.
But sticking with the American League and the National League, who do you feel are going to be the potential top MVP candidates going into this next season?
I think, Acuna coming off the injury, that's going to be big. He's going to want it so bad. And I think the Braves, especially, they've lost some of their favorite guys, Freeman, now Swanson. I think Acuna's going to carry the team on his back, and yeah.
For my National League, there's so many good players. I want to say, is Shohei Ohtani going to do good again this year?
You saw just a huge contract that he got. We saw what happened with Aaron Judge last year, betting on himself not taking the extension, ended up hitting 62 home runs. I think Shohei Ohtani is going to have a big season with that arbitration deal. So, keep going. Who do you think is winning in the National League?
There's just so many. I don't know. Who do you think, Jason?
It's a question for you, but if you're going to throw it to me because you're indecisive, honestly, I agree with Ronald Acuna Jr., with Marisa here. He's just an amazing all-around player.
I was just trying to be different, not say the same person.
I know you were trying to be different. Yeah. That's usually what you try to do. So I think Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be that top choice, but I wouldn't sleep on Juan Soto either. He had a bit of a down second half of the season after coming to the Padres, but I think if he can get things together and he could play like Juan Soto, then he's going to be up there with the top MVP candidates next year.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with all you're saying, but I still think Ronald Acuna, I agree with Marissa, is going to win the National League MVP. And then moving to the American League, I think Aaron Judge is going to win the MVP this year after getting paid. So I think he's definitely going to win the MVP this year. Thank you for joining us, Marissa, and thank you for watching this week's episode.
Tune in next week for the #1 weekly sports talk show right here on Wayne Hills TV. I'm Marissa.
I'm Rico.
And I'm Hook. And this has been Rico and Hook.